What did I miss? Brian here, and today we got another firearm review. Today we're going to be doing an overview on the Keltec Sub2000. Before we get into it, we always want to make sure that the gun is unloaded, mag is empty, and the chamber is empty. Simple as that. This is the Keltec Sub2000. As you can see, it says it on the side. This one is a 40 Smith & Wesson, in other words, a 40 cal. Now, there are two calibers for this gun. There's a 9mm and this, which is 40 cal. Usually with my firearm reviews, I'll go over everything that this gun comes with, but in this case, I don't really have much, so I gotta work with what I have in front of me. This gun belongs to a friend of mine named Chuck, also known as Pops, who is a well-known airsofter in Houston, Texas. So Pops, if you're watching this video, thank you very much for your help with this overview. Your contribution is greatly appreciated. So what is the Keltec Sub2000? Well, it's a pistol caliber carbine that can be folded and stored in a backpack, briefcase, suitcase, whatever you want to store it in. It has a 16-inch barrel and it takes Glock mags, which is pretty cool. Now, this may be new to some of you viewers out there, but this has been around for a really long time. In fact, this is the first generation Sub2000. They've already released the second generation. I will say the design is kind of weird, probably because it's made in Florida, which we all know Florida is weird based on the memes like Florida man, Florida gator, Florida this, Florida that. But at the same time, it's kind of neat, and I love it. To unfold the gun, you pull back on this latch that's above the stock, which I will demonstrate. You pull back on both sides with your thumb and index finger, lift, and it will click once it's fully extended. And then to fold it, you pull down on this trigger guard, lift, and it will click back into place. As I stated, this takes Glock mags. This one's a full-size mag, it's 15 rounds, and what caught my attention was the engravings in the back. In the middle, it shows Glock Incorporated, Smyrna, Georgia, 9/13/94, and the top shows Restricted, LE/Government Only. And so I thought this was really cool as it's like a hidden treasure. You don't really get to see these a lot, but knowing that the Sub2000 takes Glock mags, that means you could put an extended mag in it. Now, if you want to go even crazier, you could also add a drum mag, but unfortunately, I don't have one to demonstrate it, but just know that it's possible. And so this is what it looks like when it's unfolded. Like I said, it's kind of weird, but it's kind of cool at the same time. Then we flip to the other side. Not a whole lot going on here other than it says Keltec here, Keltec there, Florida, made in USA. There's the ejection port, and that's pretty much it. Not much else to it. Safety switch is right here. Right now it's on safe. This side shows it is unsafe as it's sticking out the most, but when I press it down, this side will stick out the most. It'll show it's red, and that means it's live. And then when I press it back, that means it's on safe again. This is where things get a little weird. Traditionally, on most rifles, or in this case, carbines, the charging handle would either be in the middle, the top, or sometimes in the front of the gun so that it'd be easy to spot. You could pull it back and chamber in around. On this one, the charging handle is in the back. It's on the buffer tube, and like I said, it's kind of weird. I'm gonna take the mag out for this one. So you pull this charging handle back to chamber in around, and if you take a closer look, there's a little opening off to the side, and that is how you lock it back in place. And I'll show you. So that is locked in place, and you can see the ejection port is wide open. Now, unfortunately, it does not lock on an empty mag, so the only way to know if you're out of rounds is when you pull the trigger and it clicks. So this is how you lock it back. It's similar to an MP5, and when I let it go forward, you can see there's the bolt. It's somewhat hard to pull back. The spring is kind of strong, but hey, that's to be expected. I'm sure the 9mm version is easier to pull back. I'm at an angle, but looking down the sights is kind of weird. As you can see, the rear sight is just a small hole, whereas the front sight is a circle with a fiber optic strip. Now, what I think is really cool is that the rear sight folds along with the front half of the gun. When the gun is folded, the rear sight is hidden, and when the gun is unfolded, the rear sight pops out. Unfortunately, with this model, you can't add a red dot or any other sight to it. The Gen 1 Sub-2000s did not come with any rails or really anywhere to add rails. And in fact, these sights cannot be removed. They're stuck there, so you have to work with what you got. And as I stated, the rear sight is where to look through, but it's completely doable. You look through it, you see the front sight, you line them both up together from there. And so that's everything about this Keltec Sub2000 Gen 1 in the 40 Smith & Wesson. I wish I had a Gen 2 in my possession so I could compare the two side by side, because there are some noticeable differences between the two. But overall, this model is pretty nice. It's weird and I love it. Without further ado, let's see how this gun performs down the range. Upon test firing the Sub2000, it was pretty easy to control. Even though it's a 40 cal, the recoil was manageable for the most part. However, over time, the stock starts to dig into your shoulder and will make it uncomfortable. In these clips, we had a recoil buffer added on to reduce the discomfort. Of course, looking through the sights was awkward, but other than that, it handles nicely and the accuracy is pretty high up there. I was able to hit some targets that were set up 10 to 15 yards away.
A little bit, right? Oh, that is awesome.
And so that is it for this video. This concludes the overview of the Keltec Sub2000 Gen 1 40 Smith & Wesson and its characteristics. If you're subscribed, thanks. If you're not, thanks for taking the time to watch this video. Take care, everyone. I will catch you on the flip side.